let's talk about Star Wars. Hey guys, Bobby here for the GM Table. And with the amazing Mandalorian series out and the newest Star Wars movie and everything out, I figured I'm going to talk a little bit about Star Wars with gaming. Specifically, a question I keep seeing coming up in the Savage Worlds communities, and that is how to run Star Wars using Savage Worlds. Now, first and foremost, there are a bunch of conversions you can go and search and find. The problem is there's a ton. I mean, there's like 5 I know of. It's like, which ones do I use? Which ones do I worry about? You can use the Sci-Fi Companion, even though that's for Deluxe Edition, and we're going to be getting one for Adventures Edition. It's like, do I use the Sci-Fi Companion? I can convert it. What do I do? Forget all of that. Honestly, forget all of it. We're going to be doing a Star Wars setup just with the core rules. All you need. Honestly, it is all you need. I'm going to be covering 3 major points here. The Force and Jedi, all of that stuff. The Star Wars aliens and races and all of that. And ship combat. Because those are the 3 that might be the hardest when you're just reading this core book of, how do I do this? Okay, so starting off, we're doing the Force and kind of in turn Jedi. This is the easiest one, guys. You take the new arcane background, Gifted. This used to be the superpowers background in Savage Worlds Deluxe, but it's been updated because there's the Supers Companion and that does supers better. This, we're just looking at Gifted. Gifted, you start with 1 power, 20 power points, and your spell casting skill is Focus. It is perfect. Really, that's all you need. That you're force sensitive, pick the powers you want, you're good. But if you do need a little more hand holding or guidance in how to go, I would say if you want to kind of like narrow it in, you go force sensitive as an edge. It gives you arcane background Gifted, but the power you have to take is empathy. Empathy isn't exactly perfect for the Jedi mind trick. In the mechanics, it doesn't go, I say this, now they believe it's true. But empathy gives you bonuses, and you can reflavor it in trapping. Where's the Jedi mind trick? It's all of these force-sensitive things where you can kind of manipulate people. Because the power just gives you a flat-out bonus to all social roles. It works. I also have a list of fitting powers. As I said, honestly, you can do any of the powers in the book, and you can make them work, just about. Just reflavor, trapping, but if you do need a more concrete list of what are the powers in this book that make sense, here we go. I'm going to read a list. Arcane Protection, Beast Friend, Blind, Boost Trait. I wouldn't say lower trait. You could by like using the Force to like twist fate or stuff like Darkseid, but just Boost Trait. It works. Burst as Force Lightning. Confusion, Dark Sight. Remember, if you get a raise with the Dark Sight power, you can see if you're completely blind. There are plenty of force-sensitive characters that can see even though they're blind. Even if we're going legacy doesn't matter, canon, guys, look at Rogue One. One of my personal favorite force-sensitive characters is blind.
I'm one with the Force and the Force.
Deflection, kind of an automatic. Detect Arcana, it's sense the Force. Divination, Entangle, Environmental Manipulation, Farsight, Fear. Fly, I tweaked. You don't really see force-sensitive characters like, oh, I can just fly like a wizard. But force leaping is a thing. So it's kind of a cross between fly and teleport in that the ranges are the same for both of them. You are physically going from A to B, so it's not a teleport. You don't vanish. But you go the 12 inches, and you have to land where you would end. I did all the math and everything, just make it a 1 power point power. Force leap. Boom. We have a force power that isn't technically in the core book, but we used it anyways. Havoc. Perfect for force users. Healing. Illusion. Mind link. Mind reading. Mind wipe. Pretty much any of the mind powers, let's be honest. A lot of force sensitivity is being psychic. Object reading. Protection. Relief. Personally, I'm really happy it's no longer called Succor, which, if you're used to the old rules, Succor is now Relief. It makes a lot more sense. Speed, Slumber, Smite, Speak Language, Stun, Again, teleport, same thing, force leap. And warrior's gift. Boom, we're done. We have a list of all the powers that really make sense for a force sensitive character, and they're just all in the core books. Yes, I technically made force leap, but meh. The next thing is lightsabers. There is a laser sword in here. It's very expensive. It is very powerful. I would say there are two ways for a player to get a lightsaber. The first is the easiest one. Talk to your GM. Narratively, they just get it with the backstory. You can make it really easy. Luke in New Hope just got a lightsaber. It wasn't really an advance he took. Now, you could, if you really want to limit it, like some settings, you have to take an edge to get a car. You have to take an edge to get a lightsaber. You could very easily do that. The thing I like, though, is instead you take trademark weapon. And part of trademark weapon is you now know how to build a lightsaber. It goes very thematically in. The other thing I love is trademark weapon in its prerequisites is you need a D8 in the skill relevant to the weapon. This open inflexibility means we can say, even though you use fighting to wield the lightsaber, why do only force sensitive people end up with them? Because for trademark weapon, you need a D8 focus, which is the casting skill for gifted or force sensitivity. Boom, all of a sudden you have to have focus and fighting to really get a lightsaber. Because the other thing is, narratively, if the GM gives you a lightsaber, or I would even say if it's the edge, where I spent an edge and I just got a lightsaber for free, it would kind of be under the same rules of Sidekick of if it's destroyed or lost, you won't get it back. You got to take another edge unless you take trademark weapon. And now it's not you're getting that lightsaber back, it's you know how to build lightsabers and you can make one. The other thing, you can only ever make one, and it is your personal lightsaber. That just sticks with Star Wars. Next part, we're doing the alien races. And this is going to seem like kind of a cheat, but here's the real secret to running Savage Worlds Star Wars. You don't need a book that says this is what the official convergence of every race that's ever been in a Star Wars RPG or in any of the Star Wars canon is. Use the race creation rules. Just make them. Let's be honest, in Star Wars, they're constantly adding new aliens when it just makes sense. Have one that you want. Now, that is a bit of a cheat, so I'm going to give you a couple of the go-tos, either very popular or so iconic to Star Wars, you kind of feel like you need them. The first is droids. Droids are super easy, guys. Just use the android. It's made right in here. Now, I will say a couple caveats. If it's a battle droid or an assassin droid or something like that, they do have a sidebar, but get rid of pacifist. I would just add bloodthirsty. It's in their programming to kill, which means not taking lethal action would be against their programming. Boom. Simple as far as for like R2 units and what I like to call the beeps and boops. All the droids that within lore speak binary, they beep, boop, and whistle, and they don't actually speak. You got two routes for this. Either it's flavor, because basically everybody seems to be able to understand those droids anyways, or you give them the hindrance, can't speak, beeps and boops. Other droids can understand them, because remember, others of their race can understand them. So all you need is one droid that doesn't have beeps and boops. Technically, they're the same race, though it's like a variant race. I would rule any droid can understand them, even if they don't have beeps and boops. And then in return for that extra little downside, give them like integrated tools, which gives them +1, not +2. The race creation rules are like, you can give +2 to any one skill for 2 points. Well, then for 1 point, I should be able to give +1. But I would say gives +1, and they have to choose one of these, either repair or hacking. All of a sudden, you got those like interface plugs, and you got repair tools that come out. And you can get really variable. You can also add small, you can really tweak and customize it, but these are just the baselines. This is the quick and dirty. Done. There's 2 more I'm going to do. One's really easy. The Twi'leks. They rarely actually come up as main characters. I mean, we have like rebels and stuff. We have some in main characters. But they're always in Star Wars lore, and everybody seems to love them. So, all I did made it really easy. They have the same effect as charismatic, which means when you make a persuasion check, you can get a free reroll. The big thing is I don't give them the edge. They have the same effect as the edge, but they can take the edge and stack it, which makes Twi'leks the most social characters, because that's how Twi'leks are usually portrayed. Again, it's Star Wars. Anyone can be anything. Really, you could do any of the races or just human, and it wouldn't break too much. And then finally, you gotta do the Wookiee. And the Wookiee actually had the most I'd add, mainly because of its downside Wookiees have. You give it can't speak, because Wookiees never speak common, and you give it big, because Wookiees are like 10 feet tall. It's a good reason why you rarely ever see Wookiees in armor that aren't just Wookiee armor. And then we have these hindrances. We need to balance it out. So what do? Well, they're already big, so we give them a size +2. This is going to make them roughly 9 feet tall, according to the size chart. Perfect. It also gives them +2 toughness, and it doesn't raise their strength, but it raises their max strength by 2. We then also give them a free bump in strength. All Wookiees have a minimum strength of a D6, which also raises their max, which means Wookiees can have a max strength of a D12 +3. Totally fits. We have one remaining point. Again, I do that half, not +2, to a skill +1. Give all Wookiees +1 intimidate, because they are big, they are scary, and a Wookiee can rip your arms off. Finally, the one that is like the most weird, me playing with the mechanics, but how I handle ship combat just using the core rules. There's actually some great supplements coming out for dogfighting rules and stuff. And technically, you can use the chase rules, but the chase rules don't really handle dogfights that well to me because it's supposed to be a linear path. I just modify dramatic tasks. If you're running away, you're not actually in a dogfight, someone is chasing you, you're trying to get away in time, it's a dramatic task. Done. Dramatic task uses piloting. Now, to add danger, I take the dangerous encounters rules from quick encounters and add them to the dramatic task. I had to make one little tweak. His ships can't get fatigue. So what this means, if you get a raise on your roll, no bad things happen. You just get those success points. You're good. You avoid everything. If you get a success, normally in these rules, this is where we get a point of fatigue. You can't give a ship fatigue. So instead, if you get a success, something bad happened that's going to cause a -2 on your next roll. This also means if it's your last round of the dramatic task, all you need is a success to get out of there. You get the success. The task's over. That -2 effectively didn't matter. If you fail, the ship suffers a wound. We don't have to worry about hulls and toughness and all of that stuff and shields. No. You fail, the ship took a wound. If you critically fail, the ship takes 1d4 wounds. Boom. Done. Easy. Fast. Simple. We're out of there. Dogfights are a little trickier, because dogfights have 2 things we need to worry about. That's a 3. 2 things we need to worry about. You taking out everyone, and the ship surviving long enough to do that. So, it is another dramatic task. Your successes are counted using shooting, because you're taking them out. And here's the beautiful thing about making a dramatic task. If this is an epic dogfight against a wild card bounty hunter or something, it's one ship. Boom, boom, boom. You get them all done. That ship's destroyed. If you're fighting an entire fleet of TIE fighters, again, with the new dramatic task rules, I can change how many successes you need. So it really can be variable like this. But if you finish the dramatic task, you destroyed all the TIE fighters, which means each success and raise could just be a TIE fighter blowing up if you want that big action-y feel. But there's no danger towards you. So on each round, there also needs to be a piloting check, and we use the exact same dangerous encounter rules I just said for getting away. The trick is if you are a lone starfighter pilot, you got no one there to help you. You're going to need to be shooting for your dramatic task, and you're multi-actioning to avoid damage. Done. I would say if you don't make a roll, it just counts as a failure, not a critical failure, because sometimes trying, you make things worse. So you can opt not to roll that round. It's just a failure. Your ship will take a wound that round, which can also become like ticking clocks and stuff. But then you're like, well, then starfighters kind of suck and everything. We're in Star Wars, guys. How many starfighters have a freaking R2 unit plugged in the back? That's another character, either an NPC or maybe even a player. Starfighter combat and ship combat in general becomes a team activity. Someone's piloting, someone's shooting. You're good. Done. Seriously, it's that simple. Now, a big thing to remember, technically two big things to remember. One's a suggestion, one is straight up the rules. I'm going to start with the rules. A big thing to remember is ships have 3 wounds, except the size rules affect ships. And once you go and you look at the size of planes and fighter ships and stuff like that, an X-Wing and a TIE Fighter and similar size things like that are large, which means they actually get 4 wounds before they go down. Something like the Millennium Falcon or anything roughly the size of like a bomber gets 5 wounds. And then we go to the Gargantuan, which is, for me, just like Star Destroyers. They get 6 wounds. With these rules, we don't have to worry about how many wounds the enemy has, unless you really want to get into it, at which point it's not a countdown dramatic task. You're making fighting checks versus piloting checks, and you just remove stuff down, and you can worry about it. The second thing I want to bring up, and this is just a flavor thing, I don't run games of Heroes Never Die, but I will say, especially in a game like Star Wars, if they lose, I don't just go, the ship blew up, TPK. It's not fun. So what I tend to do is if they lose, the ship's dead in the water and like life support's down. And now it's a dramatic task to get life support up before people start getting fatigue and da-da-da. And if that causes a TPK, that kind of sucks, but create another dramatic moment that was fully in all the players' hands, all of that stuff. Or if they fail and it's a big enough ship, or if the ship has it, you go, the ship blew up, but you're all in escape pods. Simple. I don't personally like for the hero ships to be like, boom, it exploded, TPK. If one player in like a fighter ship gets blown up because they risked, failed the risk and die, again, I don't run Heroes Never Die, but the whole party dying because of one dramatic task, unless it was super like the climax of the adventure, if I'm doing a one-shot, or climax of the campaign, I just don't do it. I give it as a chance to then put them in a really bad situation they got to figure out. All right, so that's it, everybody. That is everything, at least I think you need to run some good baseline solid Star Wars just using the core rules for Savage Worlds. Anyways, I got a few more Star Wars videos coming, one for 5th edition and another one for Savage Worlds next week. I will check you guys later. Bye. Hey guys, if you enjoy our content, check out our live games on Twitch, or you can get early access to videos and exclusive GM material on our Patreon. Links to both and more are in the video description below.